Time is speeding up. Chaos is shifting into a new level, and we feel the pull to unlock the mysteries of the universe. Timeless spiritual wisdom offers the point of stability to navigate these times and to open our greatest potential. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the fun and knowledge of visionary best-selling authors Shri and Kira as they explore these mysteries and invite your higher love to come forward. And now, here are Shri and Kira.
Namaste and welcome to Explore the Mysteries. I am wisdom teacher Sri Ram Ka.
And I am Master Lady Kira Ra. And whoo, let's bring our hands to our heart, taking a deep breath. Wow, tonight, you are love, remembering multidimensional experience. And A-Lion-Ment. I mean, how incredible is that? Is diving into the experienced enlightenment, the alignment with the love that you are. And you know, there is so much that we have to share today. I mean, this is such a huge show. We're going to dive into, hey, if this is especially your first time with Shri and I, what the heck does multidimensional mean? And how do I know I'm living multidimensionally? And what about this alignment with love, right? And especially real love or love that is, we're going to read you an ensoulment, love that is manipulated through a perverted stream of war. Ooh, breathe that in, because when we protest, when we rage, when we are angry, what are we really loving? And what is the effect that we really want? Very powerful stuff, and that's just half the show.
That's show.
That's just the first half.
Well, before we get rolling, I just want to say hello and welcome to all of the affiliates and all the places that are carrying this show to you, to your ears, to your eyes today, because we're available both audio throughout a variety of stations and video at Oneness Talk Radio and Official Shri and Kira YouTube channel.
Yeah, go to YouTube, Official Shri and Kira. Just subscribe.
Find the canal, as they say in Spanish, the canal that serves you.
Indeed. And remember to catch our two other shows, because this is Explore the Mysteries. If this is your first time here, this is the show where Shri and I go deep into the teaching of the work. This is our world service to offer this divine moment. And we really are grateful for those of you that join us every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time when our weekly show airs. Please be here each week and give yourself this gift. Or if you're catching us in the archives, thank you, because this is where Shri and I have that moment to really explore these mysteries in depth. Now, do you have a question about that? Do you want to interact with us about that? Then make sure you put a note on your calendar and join us over there, especially over at YouTube, Official Shri and Kira, every Sunday when Shri and I are live from noon to 2 p.m. And you can call in and chat with us live.
Yep. And there's a dynamic chat room and a lovely community that gathers every Sunday that'll offer you a hug and answer your questions. So
other people that are exploring the mysteries, right?
Exactly.
And then if you're ready, let your soul find its mirror and dive into these deeper consciousness conversations where we really expand it outside the box every Tuesday night on Soul Mirrors. And that airs at 5 p.m. Pacific time, live at onenesstalkradio.com and also over at YouTube, Official Shri and Kira. So make a note, give yourself that blessing, invite yourself to say yes, tune in and explore the depth of the mystery of you. And it brings us back to today. And I love today because you are love. Gotta love that.
Oh, right, absolutely. The title for our presentation today really has it all hidden right inside.
Yeah.
You are love.
Exclamation point.
And remembering multidimensional alignment.
Breathe that in.
Let's just take that last word for a moment.
Yeah.
A-Lion-Ment. That's more than alignment. That is saying I am calling forward the empowerment of my lioness nature, and it's in alignment with you are love. If we're able to successfully align with the love that is at our essence, everything opens up. Everything.
Breathe that in. Right? Everything opening up because we are aligning with ourselves at our essence. And that is how these ensoulments come through. And remember that each week we feature a segment of an ensoulment where it's just so incredibly appropriate for this very specific moment in this timeline that it takes our breath away.
Yeah.
And this week, Bria Rose was the one who really said, hey, pay attention here. This really is right now. And we want to share that with you because this segment that we're going to read, this ensoulment, which is where all of these issues we talked about earlier are going to come up, and Sri and I are going to decipher this for you throughout the night. We have a lot to share here. This is that moment of essence. It is that opening that happens when we let go of all the paradigms and say yes to the greater expansive being, the true nature of who we are. And so we're going to take a moment. We're just going to read it to you and invite you to take a deeper breath, to let this moment be a moment of even deeper expansion. Because this beautiful ensoulment is from Archangel Uriel, and it is from the Living an Ascended Life Lesson 1. This happens to be our current Monday Magic series. Get in there. Go to ShriandKara.com. Get in there. Be with us. If you're catching us live on Sunday nights or our first airing of the week, be there tomorrow night. Be there Monday nights. You can join us anytime.
Because what we're sharing with you today is just a little piece of a grander, greater delivery.
Teeny piece.
that came from Archangel Uriel. And I do want to say, for those of you that are new, the word ensoulment is the most pure form of what some people think of as channeling available on the planet. To ensoul another being means I have stepped aside and allowed this ascended master or this angel to step in and share with those of us in the third dimensional strata of multi-dimensional universe. So the ensoulment is a very pure delivery that happens through Master Lady Kira Ra, as she is very uniquely able to completely vacate her body, her mind. Thus, there's no egoic remnant. What we are sharing with you is the pure essence without interpretation or filter. So this is from a series of ensoulments that's called Living an Ascended Life. And this happens to come from Lesson 1. So just take a breath and be with us as we share this truly this divine, wise delivering of cosmic wisdom. Dearest ones, this is a beautiful exercise. In claiming your divine knowing and authentic ascended energy, it brings you beyond living in multidimensional capacity. The multidimensional expression, the multidimensional experience is already here. It is not a concept for you to conceptualize or intellectualize around, unless, of course, you enjoy this type of thing. It is an opportunity for you to accept more than the eyes of this world would like you to see. How do you align with love? Do not forget, beloveds, that many align with love through a manipulated and perverted stream of war. Understand that there are many expressions of love. Yet how do you align with love? What is love in you? How are you love? If you stamp your feet with your signs and join in great protests, then do it well. And what are you loving? The protest? The hope for accountment? What are you loving? The protest? The hoped for outcome? Or the energy of the protest? Be clear on what you are loving. Be clear on how you are love. There will be many great outbursts of many protests on your planet, and not all will end peacefully. This will escalate very rapidly in these next 11 cycles of the moon. And there will be many, many precipitating factors or energies that will come together on your planet to create this situation. What is your love? Where do you love? How can you hold presence? When you give energy to anything, it will expand. So where do you wish to give your energy? When you come together in groups of divine, authentic, crystalline beings of Christ-filled love, come together to celebrate each other, not to influence each other.
Wow. So let's just all first take a breath. And as Shri was sharing that, all this extraordinary information and energy happening. And the one thing that I clearly heard was Archangel Uriel saying, it's important for you to know that this was delivered in 2006 as a prediction for this moment. And that this is why when we get together every Monday night, Shri and I have been out here in the public domain doing this consistently for close to 20 years. And the one thing that everyone can validate is that we have been consistent in the message and consistent in what we do. We can't be bought, and we are nakedly authentic. And that has had some interesting experiences and density along the way, and it has brought us to this beautiful moment now. Shri and I are still on the planet, and those of you that know our journey know that's a miracle in and of itself. So Shri and I are still on the planet only for one reason, to be unlocking the keys to all of these sacred texts. And this sacred text, this Living an Ascended Life series that we are unlocking right now, had to be unlocked in this moment of time. And the reason Shri and I are here now is because we are able to unlock it. We had been guided early on. We were very clearly informed from the ascended realms to deliver the content and to do nothing about interpreting it. We turned down book deals because of that. We walked away from a lot of interesting things because of that, because they all wanted to alter the words. And now we know why it was so important. And now it was why we had to walk away, why we couldn't let it be published outside of our own ability to publish it. And that when we did work with Berkeley Press, they did agree to that. These ensoulments had to remain unedited. They're coded. And Archangel Zadkiel shared this with us. And if you've read our book, Sacred Union, The Journey Home, and I hope you have, then you know this, that Archangel Zadkiel was very clear that every single word that has come through from the archangelic realm, because we are loved so much, is coded so that the level of consciousness that meets it feels comfortable with the material as it is met. And that as the level of consciousness expands, the greater keys are unlocked. We have arisen to a moment of consciousness collectively right now, where Shri and I are blessed to be unlocking these keys with you. This has been moving ever since March when we first started Monday Magic as our saying, we are with you through this COVID. We are not going anywhere. And we have been with you every week since. It has brought us to this moment in spiral time. So I do encourage you with all my heart, if this material calls to you, jump into Monday Magic, even if it's just for the recordings, even if you don't want to be there live, get the recordings and get these PDFs and give yourself the blessing of reading them during the week, because Shri and I are only offering you a snippet right now. So shriandkira.com has all that information. And Shri, I'm like Uriel was just so clear, let them know this was delivered in 2006. Yeah.
Well, and one of the things about that, pardon me, is that we seem to take a certain amount of time as a species, human beings, to integrate and to ripen, because it's
true.
I think it was, what was it, Thomas Jefferson or one of them was asked, well, when you're going to cut down a tree, 95% of your time is to sharpen the saw, and 5% is the actual cutting. And it's a little.
Wait, breathe that in. Take a minute and really soak that one in, right? All right, say it again.
95% of your time is preparation. It's sharpening the saw.
Right.
And then the applied work is just really fast. It's just 5%.
So true. It's so true. Thank you, Shri. I really wanted that to sink in.
And so these wisdom teachings, these prophetic sharings came to the planet 10 and 15 years ago at different times, because there's a series of them, and they're all available free as our gift to the world. However, the degree to which you can integrate it is based upon the level of consciousness with which you engage it. And our level of consciousness slowly has been escalating and more rapidly in the last few years.
Yeah.
In the last few years, those that have said yes to expansion, yes to upliftment, yes to love, are opening at a more rapid rate than we've ever seen before.
Isn't it beautiful? And while it's all at different levels of consciousness, it's happening simultaneously. It's such a beautiful moment of oneness when we can align with that.
Yeah. And so one of the keys here, and as we're going to get into some of the
Specific,
deeper meanings,
amazing meanings.
But one of the keys that I just want to offer as a preface is that the archangels are talking about love, not knowledge.
That's important.
And this is a gateway, multi-dimensional experience, multi-dimensional living is entered through the heart. It's not a concept that you can say, okay, I choose to believe in this and now I'm there. It doesn't happen that way. You can have concepts all day long, but those are just jumbles of words that you can have conversations about. They do not on their own create or sustain a level of being. Words are just words. Beingness could often be wordless.
Breathe that in. Beingness is often wordless.
So as we kind of say, okay, thanks, those words are helping me condition myself a little bit to open my heart and be present to the deeper intention of this sharing.
Right? And so what is it like to experience multidimensional living? What is multidimensional living? It's already here. And I first want to go to a line from this ensoulment where Archangel Uriel says, look, this is not a concept for you to conceptualize or intellectualize around, unless, of course, you enjoy this type of thing. It is an opportunity for you to accept more than the eyes of this world would like you to see. Now, what does that mean? It means that our multidimensional experience is when we can lift through our own preoccupation to the greater vision. It's, the way we describe it is it's when we first begin to witness ourselves. And it's very, very common. It's a lot of beginner spirituality. And most likely you've experienced that, right? Where you have that moment of witnessing yourself and stepping back and going, wait a minute, let me just take a step back here. Multidimensional is when we become the witnesser of that witness. And we can do that through compassion. Yeah. And this is why the presence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the presence of all compassion, when we come into the energy of compassion and we apply it to the self first, when we can have compassion for ourselves, when we can love ourselves enough that we can really hold that compassion, that's when our consciousness lifts into that witnesser state. We free ourselves from being locked in to that which is trying to compel our brain to keep us here. And we actually give ourselves the gift through our own compassion to see, often for the first time, the bigger picture.
Yes.
That's multidimensional. That's step one. And we call that fifth dimension.
It's powerful and simple at the same time.
Exactly.
So consider this. Let's just revisit what Kira said, because this is foundational. There are many creatures, humans included, that have awareness. And a dog, a cat is aware. A goldfish is aware. And so awareness is the first step up above being completely unconscious.
Right.
So what's the next step is to become conscious that you're aware. Now your empowerment comes forward and your capacity to choose. If we're not conscious of ourselves as an aware being, we have no choice. We're reactive only. And free will and choice are fundamental gifts of your human nature, and they come with a responsibility, meaning I am conscious of my actions, etc. And so this is why it becomes the most foundational, fundamental step in your human evolution. I am a conscious being having my awareness of my body and experiences.
That's a massive expansion.
And that's a big step up.
That's a huge step.
Well, there's ever refining levels of observing that come forward when you can become the witness of you as a conscious of the aware being, what you've
That's
done
screen number 2.
is we've widened the fabric. We've
Right.
widened the film, so to speak. It's not just that we're an actor in the play of our lives. It's not just that we see the projector that is influencing the experiences of our lives. We take in the greater context and we realize, I think I set up the projector. I think that there's a fabric of
Right.
reality here upon which this life is happening. And this is where it can start really kind of blowing conventional conversation out of the water. However, the question of what does it mean to be multidimensional?
Right.
It is to become conscious of the various frequencies that intersect, and you can come in at those experiences at multiple levels. We can be both the pawn on the
Right.
chessboard, and we can be the one that's orchestrating the game.
Do we not love this or what? So really breathe that in, because multi-dimensional experience, as I mentioned earlier, as Shree's just sharing with you, it begins with this incredible compassion of igniting the greater self, of saying yes to the greater you, of letting go of the victim experience. Remember that it's always an ever-refining spiral. This is why, as Shree was sharing, we're always in the spiral, but we can hold ourselves in a lateral loop for many lifetimes.
Absolutely.
Right? But the gift is you're never going to get outside the spiral. You can't ever really mess it up. You just get to do it again. Right? And that's important to know.
Well, and human history, and I just
Let's
want to
talk
underscore
about that.
this.
Let's underscore it.
The moment humankind,
Highlighter pen.
the moment that the species, humanity, became aware of itself,
right,
consciously aware, all of a sudden you go, okay, there's me, and there's that one over there, there's that country over there. Well, one of the first things that happened was, I want what they have. I will conquer them. They're not seen as equal. They're seen as food, as conquest.
It takes my breath away, because I immediately go to Reverend Ike. I really do, because, that's a choice moment, right?
It is.
It's that choice moment of, I covet what you have instead of, that's for me. Let us both have it.
Yeah.
Why does it have to have one or the other, right? And this is why I love Rev Ike. I really do, because that one really hits home for me.
It does, because what it is it's at a much higher level of consciousness.
Exactly.
But as we kind of reflect on our whole shared evolutionary process,
right,
there is a zone, and that zone is found throughout history for thousands of years, where humankind had an ability to research and become intellectual.
Yeah.
But the heart of humanity saw other beings and resources as something to own and conquest,
right,
to take over. When there's a greater evolutionary process, we come to what Archangel Uriel brought forward here in the very first sentence. It's about love. Love is the basis of compassion, is it not? Compassion means I can see that you too are a being of love. You too have needs. You too have dreams. You are more like me than you are dissimilar.
Take that one in.
And when our vibrational rate, and it is a vibrational rate, is
Big
resonating
time.
More at the heart and less at the competitive, fear-based reality, we begin to open to multidimensional experiences. It becomes a natural playground, so to speak, a natural fabric upon which we exist. The Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, is a beautiful representation of what it means just to hold the energy of compassion.
And I do want to say that my husband has had the blessing of being in private audience with him more than once. So I just bow, because that he knows this not only from what we all know, but from firsthand experience.
Well, and yes, and to me, it was very pivotal in my life, because when I sat eye to eye with His Holiness, I reached out my hands, and he placed his hands in mine, and I broke into tears as I gazed into his eyes. And I looked into his eyes, and all I could say was, thank you for being here. Because I felt in that moment the gratitude for this being who is modeling for all of us the energy of compassion.
Fifth dimensional awareness.
Kindness.
Always.
This does not mean you can't pursue science or comparative or discernments and all of that. What it means is I foundationalize everything that I am on the base point, the fabric of kindness and compassion. And when I began to tear up, and the tears are coming down my cheeks as I gaze at him, because the purpose was, I'm here to answer your questions. I'm here to help you. And all I saw was, well, I just need to tell you I'm so grateful you're here. There was no questions in my mind at all at that moment. And he looked at me and he gave me a hug and he said, it's all going to be okay. It's like, have no worries. There's more of me around here. There's more of this in the world than you are aware of.
This was pre-K, pre-Kira.
and to me, that moment opened up the possibility that the level of consciousness that His Holiness is holding is a baseline, not a destination. This is a baseline for our nature, and that if we can see, touch, and understand the truth of what He's emanating, we can then start there and go into full multidimensional experience and make a lot more sense out of what Archangel Uriel has brought forward. And for me, this is indeed the foundation. We must get to our heart in order to open the universe. If we haven't gotten to our hearts, we're caught in the polarity of cause and effect, action, reaction, love, hate, light, dark, and that dance of density.
And this brings us to whether they talk about the war. Let's talk about this, because they say, look, there's real love. There's like, the love of your divine, the knowing love. And then there's this love through this manipulated and perverted stream of war. So I want to share this with you because this ties in with, it was actually the very next line of what we were just talking about. So I'm going to read it all in context. And this time I'm going to continue with that line. Okay. The multidimensional expression, the multidimensional experience is already here. This is not a concept for you to conceptualize or intellectualize around, unless, of course, you enjoy this type of thing. It is an opportunity for you to accept more than the eyes of this world would like you to see. How do you align with love? Do not forget, beloveds, that many align with love through a manipulated and perverted stream of war. Understand that there are many expressions of love. Yet how do you align with love? What is love in you? How are you? Love. And I really want to talk about this because what they're really saying is, look, everyone in every war is in love with their side. That, you need to pay attention that it's a perverted stream of love.
Right.
It's, how, everybody talks about more beings have been slaughtered in the name of the holy whatever. Well, that's all perverted love.
It is. It's this conditional love that says, I'm gonna protect my tribe because I perceive that your tribe is offensive or unworthy of my acceptance.
Right. And if I end your life, I'm freeing you to become the person I want you to be. Think about that. There's a lot of perverted love in that.
Yeah. And so love is greatly misinterpreted or misunderstood or manipulated based upon the level of consciousness, call it the vibrational state of the person who is taking action.
Exactly.
This, again, it's not a concept. Love is universal. It's only a human being that would draw a boundary around it and say, this is worthy of my love and this is not.
Well, and this goes back to the multidimensional experience. And this is why it's so important, because to really understand this, and remember, understand is code for the left brain relaxing into your ascended brain to come forward. So to really understand this, do not forget, I'm reading again directly from the ensoulment. Do not forget, beloveds, that many align. Now, do not forget means you already know this. So they're talking to the master within. Do not forget means remember, you already got this. So do not forget, beloveds, you are love. Beloveds, you are love, right? Many align, not a lion, and they're always very specific with the way that they share this information. So this time we see the align, which is the density experience of that energy.
Right.
So they're saying those in density experience love through this manipulated and perverted stream of war, and that's why war always will be. There has not ever been a time in the quote history that is perpetuated in this experience of this timeline that we've co-created that does not include some form of war or domination. And the reason being is because it's in density and because it is actually an expression of love. And then the very next line, understand that there are many expressions of love. So how do we really understand that? Go back to the beginning of this ensoulment, multidimensionally. That compassion of self that lifts us in the fifth dimension is the anchor that then invites, I call it the next screen, the seventh dimension. And the seventh dimension can only be steadfastly anchored and attained through loving yourself so much in that fifth dimensional experience that you're able to start releasing judgment. You get to the other side of your own ego where you're able to laugh at it, where the self-sabotage becomes the smile, where the instantaneous experience is calling you further and further into your mastery rather than further and further away from it. Mm-hmm. And this year, 2021, if you do not have our up-level calendar, why not? Go to ShriAnnKira.com, get the calendar right now. This year is all about truth. And it's about truth plus the infinite. And so all truth, nothing will be able to be hidden anymore. And I think we've already evidenced that just in the first few weeks of January. Everything's coming out of the closet. And so if you are nakedly authentic, you are in the middle of the most beautiful expansion ever. How each being greets this energy, the consciousness that comes forward, is going to be the greatest experience of understanding love and remembering you are love through your multidimensional presence, which thereby calls in the inspired experience of balance so that all may remember their love outside the stream of war.
And Uriel goes on to make another sharing here. I want to read to you. What is love in you? How are you loved? If you stamp your feet with your signs and hold great protests, well, then do it well. And what are you loving?
Breathe that in, because I love how he prefaces this with, what is love in you?
Yeah.
And how are you loved? And then comes here. It's very potent.
And this is a call to consciousness.
Yeah. What are you loving?
What are you loving? Are you loving the protest? Are you loving the hoped for outcome? Or are you loving the energy of the protest?
Well, and this is, the energy of the protest is really that groupthink mob mentality or whatever mentality that is. All protest does exactly the opposite of what the higher consciousness inside of you would ultimately like to see happen. Anytime that we meet anger with anger, we just get more anger. Right. Anger plus anger does not equal resolution. Anger plus anger just will always equal more anger. And so whenever we bring more anger to anything in our lives, we're just going to get more anger. So the only way through it is to see the anger as the gateway to your freedom by loving yourself enough to lift up above the anger, to go into that fifth dimensional place and go, wow, look at how angry I was.
Yes.
And to be in the moment of seeing it with those ascended eyes. Then to be able to really call in through that clarity, the inspired response, the response that does call forward the resolution.
I love that. The inspired response means it has spirit.
Exactly.
To inspire is to be filled with spirit. And that love itself is a neutral expansion. Yeah. One of the things that comes forward for me as we talk about moving into the fifth dimensional energy, which so many people have talked about, but is not in the common colloquialism, not in the common understanding of humanity. The fifth dimensional energy is the frequency of compassion and kindness and love. You pick the words that kind of gel for you. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama has anchored himself there as a teacher, as kind of a holder of the frequency.
Right.
There are others as well.
Many.
So, but here is the one thing that is, you remember the Christ story, that on the cross at the time of the crucifixion, Jesus the Christ was reported to have said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Very powerful statement. When we act from one level of consciousness, and then we grow, mature, widen, evolve, whatever the words are, and we reflect on our earlier actions, we can see that we really didn't know.
We don't know what we don't know.
That we didn't understand the consequences of our behaviors.
Exactly.
That we just didn't have the whole picture.
Right?
Is that not what the lesson that's being given to us? To relax into love is to remove the resistance to positionality. Positionality is saying, I have a point of view and a paradigm and a belief system, and here's what goes and here's what doesn't. That's only part of the picture.
Yeah.
That's not the whole picture. So love, fifth dimensional compassion from the one that has surrendered the will to separate, judge, and inflict dominion, and instead say, I will stand as a witness to what is going on,
right?
Because I'm not resisting it. Then there comes the recognition of, I can forgive. Forgive them. They know not what they do. And to breathe, and we lift even higher into a non-judgment zone, which is the seventh dimensional quality. Love them. They know not what they are doing.
Exactly. Forgive them. They know not what they do. Love them. They know not what they do. And begin with you.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself. You knew not what you did. Love you, right?
Yes, yes.
That's where it all begins. Start right here, because that's that gateway to that multidimensional expansion.
And the best example I think everyone can relate to is as we grow up through childhood and adolescence and young adulthood, we evolve our sense of our understanding of the world, do we not?
Exactly.
And so in that evolutionary process, we gain in wisdom, we gain in context, we gain in experience and trust. Well, that doesn't stop. That keeps going. And so many beings say, okay, I got a handle on it, I got a box on it. Now, don't confuse me with the facts. I got this, I got this paradigm.
Exactly. And that's it.
And that's
right?
where I'm going.
That's it.
And so the more ascended perspective is love them. They know not what they do. They don't know what they don't know.
And you can't really own that until you yourself own it. Until you can love yourself enough to say, you know what? Yeah. It's very much, I love it because there's so many parallels with like the 12-step program, right? The making amends. It's like you're breaking the addiction of density. So make amends with yourself, right? Forgive yourself. Because when we do really start awakening, many, 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 many are unable to keep going because there comes a moment where you must get nakedly authentic with you. I always often share that for me, it was after my fourth bad marriage. And it was just so evident that the only thing I had in common with all those experiences was me. That was a big aha moment, guys. It really was. But it was that clarity that brought me to my knees, that really opened up the gateway, that got me out of the lateral loop, right? Same person, different body, kind of thing. Broke me out of that loop and started me back in the spiral. We each have those moments where we're spiraling, and then we have some laterals that hold us. Sometimes it's our spiritualized ego. We really believe that we have found the epitome of the depth of our expansion. And so that becomes our beautiful playing field. But remember, all those fields you play on, you've just been given a nice wide berth, but somebody's built a fence around it. And often it's the ego that says, all right, I'll let you play this far. But then when you hit what I call the borderlands of sanity, you discover a fence there. And you discover that if you just walk up and open the gate, there's the crystalline stairwell. But the question is, will your ego let you proceed? This is why understand that there are many expressions of love. Yet, how do you align with love? What is love in you? How are you love? Now, as I shared that, I felt a lot of you, third chakra, go, whoa, right? Because it's about that A-Lion-Ment, the alignment. And I'm going to skip down because we've been through this already. Be clear. Be clear on what you are loving and be clear on how you are love. Wow.
Yes.
Right? I think that's a wow. Be clear. Be clear. Uriel's not saying, look, think about it, meditate on it, take it into a process. Uriel is like, excuse me, just get clear. It's like, okay, hey, master, talking to you. Let's get clear here.
One of the wonderful paradoxes of this universe is that you can do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, if you want to have, in this particular installment, if you stamp your feet with your signs and want to protest and blah, 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 do it well.
And be aligned.
That is 100% valid and permitted. Go for it.
Just know what you're loving about it.
The key is if you choose to be conscious.
That's the key.
And conscious is the key to all beingness.
ALL capital.
Consciousness is the key to enlightenment.
It really is.
If you choose that, then be aware. Okay, I'm investing in what? I'm loving the energy of the group, or I'm loving the cause, or just the energy of the protest is doing something for me. Get aware. Because when we become aware, we either affirm our decision or we discover I'm complete with this. I've learned something.
Yep.
If we aren't aware, you get to repeat and repeat. And this comes back to how many unhappy breakups have you had? How many of the same kind of experience have you called into your life that you wish weren't there? Well, you wish it weren't there because you're unresolved with it.
Right?
And the resolution comes through consciousness. Consciousness grows as a natural, organic, evolutionary process. It will happen naturally if you just stop clinging to the things that resist it.
It's that old age, that which you hold on tight is what slips. It's like, open it, let it be. And here's something that's important to remember as well, that in these ensoulments, all this code that's been in there, this next line, I know for myself, when I first connected with it again, it hit me like a bullseye, like, wow. So again, if you've not gotten the up-level calendar, go get it. It's at shriankira.com. And before this was relaunched, before we saw it again, we had put out the calendar, the up-level calendar, and we are in a year, let us not forget that 2021 is the year of the harmonic flow of the 3 beautiful gates that are going to open and the 12 cycles. And this next line, we just delivered this. We just released this ensoulment for the first time in January, which would be cycle 1. And here's the line. There will be great outbursts of many protests on your planet. And there will be many, I skipped a line. Excuse me. There will be great outbursts of many protests on your planet, and not all will end peacefully. Mm-hmm. This will escalate very rapidly in these next 11 cycles of the moon. Well, very specifically that they encoded 11 cycles of the moon, that we released this in January during cycle 1 of a year. That is the first time when we have put out the energy for the year that specifically it is a year of the 12 cycles of the moon. And here we are already in cycle 1. And so that was just such an incredible validating piece of the energy. And here's where they continue. And there will be many precipitating factors or energies that will come together on your planet to create this situation. We are at a moment where we have expanded beyond anywhere we have ever been before. Our consciousness is going to a much higher level, and together we have already reached a level of consciousness that has never been. And our dogs are affirming that. So, I know you guys know we live out here in the middle of nowhere. So thank you for knowing that. So I really think it's important that they're saying stay in your multidimensional presence, because there's going to be so many precipitating factors or energies that if we limit ourselves, if we limit the perceptions to that one little paradigm, then how are we going to be really illuminated to be available for the myriad of factors and energies? So as we're working with this energy, as this energy is in front of us, what is important to pay attention to is, where do you wish to give your energy, right? Where do you wish to give your energy? Because your energy is expanding. And whether you're conscious of it or not is the mastery that's in front of us all. That is why that compassion, holding that compassion, paying attention to that which is trying to distract you, holding that compassion, staying in that 5th dimension anchor ship. And so I want to read, this is the beginning of the final little piece of, and I just want to stop before I read and share this. This is 3 paragraphs. Imagine if you had been with us at Monday Magic for the entire thing. This is just the power of 3 paragraphs. And so, Shri, I want to go to that bottom paragraph. Why don't you read it for us?
All right.
Here it comes.
Let's take a breath and be present to the gift of this. What is your love? Where do you love? How can you hold presence? When you give energy to anything, it will expand. So where do you choose to give your energy? When you come together in groups of divine, authentic, crystalline beings of Christ-filled love, come together to celebrate each other, not to influence each other.
I love this. I just love this. Let's just really bring our hands to our heart, because what this is saying is that there's no ulterior motive, that you are sincerely in your naked authenticity. There's no hidden agenda. There is the absolute energy of, and the way my heart always sees this is this beautiful round crystalline table where we each walk in bearing the staff of our own divine nature, sitting together and illuminating the rainbow once more, and doing it because it's just the right thing to do. And I'd be awfully reticent if I did not say that this is the essence of the WWA global experience. And this is what's coming in the beautiful summit in March here at Tosa Blue Mountain. So where do you wish to give your energy? Where do you wish to give your energy? Because it's a reminder that you are the commander, that you are not the victim. This is the year of the master's journey. This is why Shri and I, for the first time in a long time, are literally leading people on year-long master journeys. They're starting in February. Get to our website, learn about it, be there. This is that year. It is the year of the master's journey. And as they say right here, when you give energy to anything, it will expand. So when you are consciously creating and harnessing that law of instantaneous energy, law of instantaneous manifestation energy, it is because you are sustaining your multidimensional expression. You are loving yourself enough. You are holding the compassionate energy of the 5th dimension. And as you do that, then when we can honestly come together in groups of divine, meaning our own empowered mastery, nakedly authentic, crystalline beings of Christ-filled love. We are the living embodiment of forgive them, they know not what they do. Love them, they know not what they do. And we can find the smile in that. Then we come together to celebrate each other. And that's when it gets even more amazing. And I love this final piece, not to influence each other.
There, in a couple of sentences, there's
Right?
some very profound life wisdom here.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to the beginning one first, because this is a fundamental principle that I hope each of you can recognize, because you have power. And as Archangel Uriel says it, when you give energy to anything, it will expand.
Anything.
So consider, how much energy do you give to social media? How much energy do you give to conspiracy theories? Or how much energy do you give to call them life disaffirming content?
And how addicted are you to it? Because often you're doing it for the adrenaline rush.
Absolutely. And this as you take a look at the quality of so many of the Hollywood movies are about death, dystopia, and war, and the rest of it.
Hard to find one that isn't.
There is an energy of adrenaline and or if it's an interactive game, of the dopamine hit, that people are giving their life force in order to have that experience. And when we become conscious of it, we have the opportunity to say, now or not. How long or not at all? Right. How do you choose to use your energy and to engage the love that is the essence of your attention? Because when we give attention to something, we're saying, I love it. And so you can reflect, well, how much attention have I given to fear? How much attention have I given to problems? As problems, you put quotes around it.
What's happening on the planet? I mean, it's very distracting and it's intentional. That's why this ensoulment is so appropriate right now. What is your love? Where do you love? And how can you hold presence? That is so important right now.
And there's a difference between noticing something and denying it.
Wow, yeah.
And so this I'm going to kind of add in here. When we give attention to something, we're saying, I give you life force. You may expand.
Creation energy,
So,
law of instantaneous
so
manifestation.
consider, when you focus on fear-based content,
right?
What you're saying is, oh, I love you. I want more of that.
Right. And the universe will say, fine, watch this.
Okay, and then another Hollywood producer will produce another film because you're loving it. Now, when you notice that, yes, global warming, for example, there are things happening on our planet. I don't need to be afraid of it. It's wise to notice it and to take concrete, loving actions as a result of that information. That's different than giving your energy to the fear. So these are discernments that come forward. The other one that's in this one little paragraph of 3 sentences is, when you come together in groups of divine, authentic, crystalline beings of Christ-filled love.
When you come together as masters.
So have you ever thought about it, that the people you gather with, you're actually coming together in groups of divine, crystalline beings of Christ-filled love?
Can you experience that? I know that's what happens here at Tosa Blue Mountain. People come here to experience that.
You may get together because it was a book club or some other reason for getting together.
All good reasons, right?
But the reality of it is, wait a minute, I am sitting in a room or a virtual room with beings of light and love.
Yes, right? This is Monday magic.
And when you begin to see that, we begin to smile at the little sub-agendas that were circulating that brought us together. And instead, you look at the dynamic of, look who showed up.
Exactly.
Wow.
And to know that you're not crazy, you're not alone. This stuff is real. And as real as anything in this experience of reality is. And we are at a moment where, as I cannot do any show without mentioning the name of my beloved Einstein, we are at that moment of really embracing our divine selves outside of the belief in matter.
Yeah.
There is no matter, ... Einstein. That's a quote, direct quote.
And so, the old model of business, for example, was about an agenda.
Right.
We have a product to produce, a market to expand, etc.
A widget to make.
Widgets, right. And all of those are lovely. However, when we gather in the room as beings of creative capacity, we are asking ourselves, and some business people may not enjoy this, but let's ride with it. We're asking ourselves, does my heart align with the reason that we came together? Does my heart, my sacred heart, say, yes?
That's our number one.
I choose to give energy to this enterprise.
Yeah, or this
experience. As opposed to, I joined it because I was in fear of starving and I need the paycheck.
Or whatever other ulterior motive.
And there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
That's one level of interaction and engagement. But today we're being called to co-create conscious businesses, enterprises that say there is good work to be done and my heart is aligned with the work of this, quote, business.
Love it.
Whole different way of being, is it not? And the synergy that can result, the shared contributions, the creative outcomes that can happen are worthy of hugs and celebration. And that's how we show up as love. And that's how we show up to celebrate our perhaps a shared alignment, but we're celebrating each other because it's authentic.
Very.
This is, beloved ones, how we're creating this whole new operating system. Some call it the new earth. It's a level of consciousness that is expanding as a new normal on our planet.
Yeah.
And you can choose to love it, give it your attention and align with it, or you could look at it through a different perspective. Yeah. We are suggesting to you that as we relax the eyes of what was and instead anchor in our hearts, as Archangel Uriel is inviting, we can discover more joy, more expanded beingness, more energy, and more truth. And truth, when discovered, is peace. Truth doesn't agitate. No. Truth is a concretization of an essential energy of the universe. So peace is indeed your nature, is it not?
And you are love. So breathe that in. And please give yourself the gift of joining Shri and I every Sunday live from noon to 2 Pacific over at YouTube/official Shri and Kira. Just go ahead and subscribe, and that way you'll always know about it. And every Tuesday night on Soul Mirrors, where we really take consciousness to the next level, always available to you at 5 p.m. Pacific time live, where you can also call in and interact with us. Beloved angels, visit ShriandKira.com. Expand your exploration of all the mysteries, and know that we are honored to be with you every week.
And beloved ones, if you would like to join the conversation, just send us an email. Our email address is guest, G-U-E-S-T, guest, at ShriandKiraRadio.com. And if we have stirred a recognition in you, we'd love you to share it with us.
Absolutely. We love you, and we'll see you next week.
Namaste.
Thank you for joining us at Shri and Kira Live. To have your questions answered, send us an email to guest@ShriandKiraRadio.com and check out more information at ShriandKira.com. See you next week. Namaste.